Now, Central Cee is currently one of the most popular rappers out of the UK. Over the past year, and especially in recent months, his name has been everywhere, sparking conversations and turning heads in the rap game. In this video, we're diving into who Central Cee actually is, and covering the conversation about why is he actually so popular. Oakley Neil Caesar Sue, professionally known as Central Cee, but also recognized as Cench, is a 26-year-old British rapper from Shepherd's Bush, a vibrant suburb in West London. He's very rapidly emerged as one of the leaders of the new generation of UK rap. With a swift rise in the industry, his journey has been as intriguing as it is impressive. I've been kind of, from a distance, been following his career for a couple years now actually, and honestly his blow up has been very remarkable if I do say so myself. Central Cee's father is of Guyanese Chinese descent, while his mother is of English Irish heritage, blending cultures that shaped his identity and outlook from an early age. His mother was raised in a well-off family, attending boarding school, and had a structured life that offered security and opportunity. But everything changed when at just 15 she ended up meeting Cee's father, who was apparently a hustler, navigating through the streets of London. Their relationship brought two contrasting realities together, and Central Cee was raised in the middle of it all, right in Shepherd's Bush. Shepherd's Bush wasn't just a home, it was an ecosystem, a place where kids grew up fast and where opportunity often came in the form of survival. By the time Central Cee was 13, he was already experimenting with music with little outside influence beyond what he could fit into his MP3 player. One of the only songs he had, Ghetto Gospel by Tupac, a fitting anthem for a kid growing up in an environment where struggle and ambition went hand in hand. Now, the music back then for Central Cee obviously wasn't paying the bills, right? Like a lot of people around him, Central Cee ended up turning to the streets, okay? When you're coming from where I'm coming from, everybody from all walks of life, 9 times out of 10, they had to do that, he later reflected. In his area, phones were going off all day, and there were young kids moving thousands of pounds worth of work before they even understood what a career looked like. Who do you think is making this money, he asked. It's little kids, Central Cee said. By 2017 is when he was ready to take rap more seriously, and that's when he jumped into the wave of melodic trap that was dominating the UK scene back then. But back then, he was still searching for himself musically. His early tracks were drenched in autotune, featuring a more singing flow that, in hindsight, feels worlds apart from the raw and aggressive style he's known for now. Central Cee admitted back then that he was on his pretty boy ting, yeah? And obviously, it's kind of obvious from these photos right here, okay? He was essentially trying to find a sound, a lane that he could dive into so he could make some money. Obviously, he was about that guala, okay? I respect it. Now, Central Cee's breakthrough came at a time when the world was at a standstill. While the UK was on lockdown, he started gaining serious traction with tracks like Day in the Life and Loading, both which showcased his sharp delivery and introspective lyricism. The momentum only grew when he independently dropped his debut mixtape, Wild West, in 2021, a project that quickly cemented his status as one of the most promising voices in UK rap. The mixtape debuted at number 2 on the UK albums chart, proving that his fanbase was already strong and rapidly expanding. But Central Cee wasn't just a one-project wonder. His next release, 23, took things to a whole nother level, okay? Shooting straight to number 1 in the UK. By 2022, his monthly Spotify listeners had skyrocketed to 29 million. A clear indication that his music was reaching far beyond the UK drill scene. As his presence in the industry grew, so did his influence, and he ended the year with a sold-out homecoming show at London's Alexandra Palace, performing in front of 10,000 devoted fans. Just days after the milestone performance, Central Cee received 2 Brit Award nominations, including the prestigious Artist of the Year, further solidifying his place at the top of UK rap. From an underground name to a mainstream force, his journey was well underway, and it was clear that his success was only, beginning. Now, one of his absolute biggest moments was, of course, that Doja record that came out in 2022. I'm sure everybody recognizes that song, My Bitch Is Gay. That's when the majority of people find out about Central Cee. TikTok is a big reason why he was able to reach so many people, but Cench had already built a solid base before that, okay? All that new attention he was receiving through TikTok was just the momentum that added even more fuel to his ongoing fire. Now, there are a couple interesting things about Central Cee's place in the game, but more specifically in UK rap. As I've been doing more research on his story, I found out a couple things about his place in UK rap, okay? From what I've gathered, Central Cee is seen as one of the more digestible rappers within the UK rap scene. Someone whose sound and image appeal to a wide audience, both inside and outside the UK. Which that's not a bad thing per se, however, throughout his rise, he's gotten discredited by a lot of people for that reason. So from the little I know, a lot of people in the UK aren't happy that he's at this high of a level. Because from their perspective, he doesn't deserve it because, there's a bunch of other rappers who are way better than him. One example would be Dave. The Dave comparisons are always coming up. But then again, Dave is very well paid and credited from what I know, so, maybe that's not a good comparison to make. Now, there's a lot of hype surrounding Central Cee's name, especially right now since he's fresh off of his debut studio album, Can't Rush Greatness. Now, Central Cee has been marketed very well, okay? There's obviously been significant funding behind his name, which is why he's been able to reach such a level of fame in such a short amount of time. Let's talk a little bit about how Central Cee has actually been marketed to the public, and most of it is, of course, image-based. Now, for anyone who's seen what Central Cee looks like, okay, this is him, okay? I'm sure a lot of people thought he had some type of melanin, okay, some type of black in him. I mean, I definitely did, okay, especially when I initially found out about him. Now, Cench is from Guyana. Guyana is a pretty unique place, honestly. Geographically, it's in South America, but culturally, it's Caribbean. They even call it the land of many waters because of all the rivers, like the massive Essequibo River. On top of that, most of the country is covered in rainforests, and the majority of the population live along the coastal plains. With a population shy of just 1 million inhabitants, the country is known for having some very gorgeous women, okay? All Guyanese women I've met, like, they're just like, oof, they're just great. They look amazing. And also some bomb-ass food, which I still haven't had any Guyanese food, so somebody please put me on. Guyana is home to two main ethnic groups, Afro-Guyanese, who are of African descent, and Indo-Guyanese, who are of South Asian descent, and make up the largest ethnic group in the country. Central Cee comes from the latter, which means he is actually not black. But low-key, or maybe not so low-key, he's actually been marketed as a black artist, so let's talk about it. When Cench initially popped out in the scene, there was a lot of confusion about his race. And this is where we get into the topic of racial ambiguity. Something I've talked about extensively, especially when it comes to the women in the industry. But this isn't just limited to female artists. It plays a role in how certain rappers are perceived and marketed as well. The term racially ambiguous refers to someone whose ethnicity isn't immediately obvious, allowing them to be more easily accepted across different cultural and racial groups. In the music industry, this often translates to broader mainstream appeal because audiences from various backgrounds can see a little bit of themselves in the artist. Take Ice Spice for example. A huge part of why she blew up so quickly aside from her music was the way people gravitated towards her look. She has features that make her racially flexible in the eyes of the public, which helped her connect with a much wider audience as well, okay, no pun intended, than a typical artist in her lane might have, which is also why Ice Spice was able to transcend the typical trajectory of a female rapper in her lane. Her look played a major role in her rise. She wasn't just another rapper trying to make it, she had a visual appeal that made her marketable beyond just hip-hop. And the same thing applies to Central Cee, okay? His mixed heritage allows him to be perceived in a way that makes him more approachable to different audiences. He doesn't have that polarizing effect that other UK drill rappers might have because his image isn't strictly tied to one particular identity. The flexibility makes him easier to push to mainstream audiences, not just in the UK but globally. And the record labels love these types of artists, okay? Because again, they're just easier to market to the masses. An artist with racial ambiguity has the ability to appeal to multiple demographics at once, which means a wider audience, more crossover potential, and ultimately more money. Now, Central Cee is one of the biggest examples of that right now. As a matter of fact, Central Cee publicly confirmed his racial background for the first time just last year. During an interview with British Vogue in March of last year, he was asked about his ethnicity, something he had typically avoided addressing in the past publicly, but this time he decided to give it a direct answer. "My dad's Guyanese and Chinese and my mom's English," he said, hesitating slightly before responding. According to the interviewer, this was the first time he had personally confirmed his racial background, as he had previously chosen to keep that information private, which is very interesting if I do say so myself. Now, this moment was very significant because for a very long time, a lot of people speculated about his ethnicity. His racial ambiguity has sparked conversations online with people debating whether he was mixed, white, or something else entirely. And for someone like Central Cee who operates in a genre where identity plays a huge role, it made sense why he might have chosen to leave that information out. Or maybe he was told by his record label to keep that information under wraps, okay? Because let's be real, the industry knows how to play the mystery card when it benefits an artist. Leaving things ambiguous, racial ambiguity keeps people talking, debating, guessing. And in a business where perception is everything, sometimes not saying too much works in your favor. But now that the conversation is out in the open, it raises an interesting question. Did his racial ambiguity contribute to his mainstream appeal? Because looking at the history of the music industry, artists who exist in that in-between place, black, white, mixed heritage, tend to have an easier time crossing over. And given Central Cee's success, it's not far-fetched to say that it played a huge role. So Cench has benefited from colorism, and I would actually say that this is the core reason why he is so famous. Now, don't attack me, okay? Obviously, his talent and work ethic, very undeniable. But in an industry where image is just as important as music, if not more important. The way an artist is perceived can sometimes be the difference between staying local and going worldwide. And for Central Cee, that perception, whether intentional or not, has helped him become one of the most successful UK rappers of his generation. But aside from the racial aspect, Central Cee has significant funding behind his name, and that's not surprising. He's literally one of the top artists out of the UK right now, which is a big deal. But here's the thing, and I'm sure you already know this. You don't truly make it in music until you win over the American audience. That's the same reason why Tyler is being marketed so heavily in the States right now. By the way, I have a very interesting video about Tyler coming soon. Can't wait for you to see that one. It's a really good one. The next step for Tyler right now is winning over America. She's got the talent, the look, and the industry push. But as we've seen before, breaking into the US market is a whole different ballgame. Plenty of international artists make waves globally, but true mainstream dominance doesn't happen until America fully embraces you. And sure, you don't have to be big in America to thrive, but let's just keep it real, right? If you want to reach that ultra global level, America is still the biggest stage. And this is very relevant to Central Cee because Mr. Sench is an artist straight out of the UK. And while a lot of his themes reflect the realities of London, the struggles, the ambition, the street narratives, that only will get him so far on a large scale, right? The UK rap scene has always had its stars, but very few UK rappers have actually managed to fully break into the American market and maintain longevity in it. I mean, not even Skepta, who is one of the most recognizable rappers from the UK, ever managed to truly break into the American market, and same with Dave. Singers seem to have an easier time. Adele, Ed Sheeran, or Ella Mai is actually a good example. She's actually from the UK, which a lot of people don't really know, right? She moved to America at a young age, by the way, but anyway. She managed to break into America after getting an extremely big song called Trip, which Jacquees, I remember, tried to jump on that wave, and then she was like, her team was like, take that shit down, right? And at the end of the day, to really win over America, the audience has to relate to you. That's just how it works, right? It's not just enough to make good music. As a non-American, if you want to break into America got to feel like they actually understand who you are. They need to see themselves in you. Now, it's not as relevant for pop stars, but most certainly for rappers. Central Cee is still in the process of figuring that out. He's already made strides. His collaborations with American artists, his growing presence on social media, and even his ability to go viral outside of the UK have all played a role in his international rise. And as you guys can see on Spotify, these are his top cities, right? We got London, we also got Sydney, we also got Lagos, and also too, we got Melbourne and Toronto. So the real question is, can he fully translate his success into the American rap space? Because until that happens, he'll still be viewed as a UK artist first and foremost, not a global one. And that right there is the biggest disconnect that I've noticed when it comes to Sench reaching that ultra global level. Right now, there's a clear effort to position him in America, to solidify his place in the mainstream. The marketing push is there, the collaborations, the viral moments, the industry cosigns, all the moves that typically help an international artist break through in the US. But the question is he actually going to be able to make it? Now, getting marketed in America is one thing, but truly connecting with the audience, that's a whole nother thing, right? I remember NF years ago had a line in his song, No Name, talking about how things don't always necessarily blow just because you market them harder, which I thought was a genius way to put it. Shout out to NF for that line. So labels can throw a bunch of money, at an artist all day long, but if the fans and the audiences truly don't embrace them, it won't stick, right? Is Central Cee relatable enough for the American market? Does he have the crossover appeal to become a household name? Or will he always be that UK rapper with a strong international following? Now, I can confidently say that this guy's very talented just based off of what I've heard. I can't say that I'm surprised by his success. Central Cee knows how to put words together, and that's why he is a millionaire, right? At his core, Sench is a storyteller, and that's something I generally, appreciate about him. He doesn't just rap or just make, random song, right? He paints a picture with his words, bringing his experiences and the realities of his environment to life. I'm sure his record label is probably, pushing for him to dumb it down a notch. That's usually what happens as an artist gets bigger. They get encouraged to tone it down so they can be more digestible or even more digestible for mainstream audiences. And while that might help his commercial appeal, that's obviously going to hurt his brand and, water him down. He also doesn't look like your typical rapper. You put Central Cee in a black tuxedo or some shit and he looks like he belongs in a Tommy Hilfiger ad. That's part of what makes him so marketable. He has a look that blends streetwear and high fashion effortlessly. He can rock a tracksuit in a drill video just as easily as he can pull off a luxury brand campaign. By the way, I just realized that Central Cee kind of looks like Jeremy Meeks, actually. I mean, they literally look like they're related. Let's keep it at Garbanzo being in a crumpet, lads. Labels eat that up. They love an artist who can pull off a tracksuit one day and a designer suit the next, because it means that, they can be marketed to the kids as the cool thing to support. Meanwhile, they can help him, really, themselves, cash in on brand deals, more magazine covers, whatever. I mean, Central Cee is undoubtedly a diverse cat. He did, after all, show up to his friend's wedding wearing a tracksuit. So yeah. Women love Central Cee, by the way, because hey, at the end of the day, he's handsome, like he's a, model looking dude, which of course plays into his image, right? And we all know that women are some of the biggest spenders. If you can win them over, you're not just gaining fans, you're building a loyal, paying audience, concert tickets, merch, streaming numbers. Women drive a huge chunk of the industry's revenue. And Central Cee, he got that appeal locked down. Whether it's the fashion, the music, or just the overall aura, his fan base isn't just about the streets. It's heavily fueled by female support, and that's a cheat code for longevity in music if you didn't know. And one very subtle aspect of this is, for a male artist to be successfully marketed towards women, he has to be in touch with his feminine side, which is something a lot of people don't talk about. Because as humans, we all have a mix of both feminine and masculine energy inside of us, regardless of your gender. In today's industry, the most successful male artists with strong female fan bases all have that yin and yang energy. Essentially, they have a balance of both. They're confident enough in their masculinity to tap into that feminine energy, whether it's through their style, their vulnerability in music, or even just the way they present themselves. A lot of men, especially rappers, aren't comfortable with that. And that's exactly why there's such a culture of hypermasculinity in hip-hop. The idea of showing even a hint of softness or vulnerability is seen as weakness. So a lot of artists double down on, aggression, bravado, and toughness. And at the end of the day, it's a defense mechanism because in their world, being perceived as anything less than ultra masculine is a risk to their ego. And as an artist, you're not really selling music, you're selling personality, relatability, and image. And a huge part of that comes from embracing both sides. Being strong but introspective, confident, and also emotionally aware. Central Cee seems to understand that. He knows how to navigate both worlds, which is part of what makes him so appealing across different audiences. Also, he's very clearly, very comfortable in his own skin. And that goes a lot further than people realize. Confidence isn't just about how you carry yourself, it's about how other people feel when they're around you. And with Central Cee, it's obvious that he doesn't just project self-assurance, he creates an energy where others feel comfortable around him as well.
My brother showed it to my dad.
Yeah.
Because he used to live around the area.
Yes.
Too far. He said he used to come here and that. Thanks to social media.
And thanks to TikTok, we have you here.
Yeah.
Can I hug you up?
Yes.
I'm so happy to hug you.
I need to make sure I get a picture.
Whether it's in interviews, behind the scenes clips, or just how he moves in public, he has that effortless presence that makes people feel at ease. In an industry where so many rappers feel the need to overcompensate with tough talk and bravado, Central Cee's approach is different. He doesn't seem to force anything. He's not trying too hard to prove anything. He just is, and that's something I can respect as a man 1000%. It's easy to fake an image or lean into something you're not. Plenty of rappers do it, but what's harder is maintaining that illusion over time. You can put on a persona, play a character, act tougher than you really are, but eventually the cracks start to show. Fans pick up on inauthenticity in an industry that moves as fast as hip-hop. Being fake at the end of the day has an expiration date. I mean, we literally just saw the IRS take 6ix9ine's entire life away. Cars, chains, and probably even the little Skittles he had in his pocket, okay? So the fake eventually get exposed. I don't really get that vibe from Central Cee at all, and honestly, that's another big reason why I think he's as popular as he is. A lot of times people overlook how much someone's natural aura or presence plays into their success. It's not just about the music or the marketing, it's about the energy they bring. And that's something you can't really buy. You can have all the funding, the cosigns, the industry push, but if people don't naturally gravitate towards you, none of that stuff matters. Which is also why I think pushing him too hard in America could definitely backfire. And I'm kind of actually seeing some of the negatives of that right now, but I don't really want to speak anything negative into his situation, so we'll see how it plays out, right? And by the way, I don't know if this particular clip right here was a part of the marketing plan.
To think that man put like a lot of man onto the night tech thing. You see the influence even in like America and that now. Like, people be rocking the text like it's like they're us.
Overall, it's a mix of strong marketing and music that's good enough to keep people listening. The industry runs on visibility, and Central Cee has that locked down. But at the same time, marketing alone won't carry you. The music has to resonate at least to keep fans engaged. In his case, it's a balance. He's not the most lyrical, not the most experimental, but he knows how to craft music that connects with his audience and audiences outside of his particular core audience. And when you pair that with the right image, branding, and timing, that's how you build a star. And honestly, I think Central Cee is actually a star. He seems like he's made to do music, and I'm personally not the biggest fan, but I can say for sure that he's talented. I don't think everybody can do what he does, and obviously the level he's been able to reach is a testament to that. But anyway, I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about this topic though. Why do you guys think Central Cee is popular? Are you a fan of his music? Have you listened to him? Like, what do you think about him as an artist and kind of like his brand overall? What do you guys think about some of the topics that we spoke about how he got marketed as like a black artist? Really curious to hear what you guys have to say about this. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace, I'm out.